What's up, everybody? Brothers, sisters, psychonauts, and seekers of truth. It is Ananka, and welcome to my bazaar. Today, I have a 1P-LSD trip report for you. The title of this trip report is The Psychedelic Perspective, and was submitted to Erowid in 2019 by the user Pasta. With all that being said, let our story begin. I obtained the 1P-LSD from a reputable RC vendor and tested it myself with the Ehrlich reagent test. It reacted and became a light purple after leaving it for a short period of time. I consumed the substance with 3 others, none of whom had any experience with psychedelics. I had experiences with various altered states, but none were both this long-lasting and intense. T plus 0. Ingestion 200 UGs. 30 minutes sublingual before swallowing the tabs. 45 minutes in. Patterns on the ceiling start to swim, feeling very happy and laughing at everything. After an hour, colors are in places they shouldn't be, fairly strong distortion of objects. I still felt very much in control mentally, and I still feel like I know who I am. Come up was very pleasant with no nausea whatsoever, though some of the others experienced some degree of unease. An hour and 15 minutes in, we go outside. This is when I realize how strong the visuals have become. Everything feels oversaturated to a ridiculous extent, and everything is made up of triangular fractals. Everything that moves now has strong tracers. We decided to go for a walk. An hour and 30 minutes in, the experience is becoming quite intense. No longer feeling any connection to my sober self, and I cannot remember what being sober is like. Continue walking. 2 hours. The visuals are very strong now. We sit down to try to come to terms with the situation we find ourselves in. Water looks like it was painted by Van Gogh, and the sky looks like it was created with watercolors. I feel almost as if I am a figure in a painting. Everything is made up of fractals. Cows are barely recognizable as cows, and everyone else has multiple sets of eyes. 2 hours and 30 minutes. Walk through a familiar stretch of woods, but the path seems to go on for much longer than usual. I notice an uncomfortable body load. We attempt to verbally communicate what we are experiencing with each other, resort to using made-up words to try to explain what is going on. Regular language doesn't seem to lend themselves well to the psychedelic world. The experience is very euphoric at this point, and we are laughing hysterically at everything we see or say. It feels like being a child again. Everything seems new and interesting. After 3 hours, we make it to a lake and decide to sit there. Auditory hallucinations are very strong. I am able to listen in on conversations fairly far away and hear what is being said perfectly clear. But when I am not listening to anything in specific, everything sounds very warped and high-pitched. Visuals are out of this world. The sky is every shade of purple. The water shimmers in a sparkling multicolored display. Fractals resemble peacock feathers. Everything seems to have black eyes staring at me, though this doesn't cause me any discomfort. Trees look much taller than usual, and I once again strongly feel as though I must be a figure in a painting or a postcard. I can no longer differentiate between different parts of my body. I can no longer feel arms, legs, or head, just one central being somewhere inside. The body load is much stronger now and causing some discomfort. It is as though I am carrying a heavy backpack the entire time. As I watch people go about their day, I am fascinated at how sure they are of everything. They all just go about their day. I notice that the way they move suggests they know what they are doing. They seem sure of themselves. Meanwhile, I don't know how to move normally anymore. I don't know what I am supposed to be doing. I feel like I want to do something, but there is nothing that needs to be done. What do people do all day? My mind is racing. I am questioning everything. I have spent the last month not doing anything with my time and being okay with that. But now I feel uneasy about just sitting around for a few minutes on a sunny day. I try as hard as I can to think like a sober person. Figure out what I am supposed to be doing at this moment of time to fit in. But there is a disconnect. I am in a completely alien state of mind. After 4 hours, we arrive back at the house. The effect seems to have become slightly milder, or perhaps I have just started getting used to it. Visuals are still very intense. My hand turned to a skeleton before my eyes, which was not very pleasant. I lie down in my bed and close my eyes in an attempt to get a break from what is going on. CEVs are very strong and fractal-like, and I start to feel some anxiety, so I go into the garden. 4 hours and 30 minutes. I decide this would be a good time to do some nitrous oxide while sitting in my garden. 2 canisters. I briefly forgot that I exist, that I did nitrous, and that I was supposed to be busy with existing. 5 hours in, I have another go and have 3 canisters. I feel like I am shot forward in my chair. Very loud white noise. I experience completely ridiculous time dilation. The cars driving past on a busy road at about 80 kilometers an hour seem to slow to almost walking speed. The sound of their engines becomes slowed and very low in pitch. At some point, time starts to speed up again, until it reached normal speed and cars were shooting past again. 6 hours in. Feel uncomfortable being inside, so I decide to go for a walk to some other woods. Music sounds fantastic, and I can feel waves of euphoria traveling through me as I listen. The visuals are absolutely beautiful. As I enter the woods, it is getting dark, and the path seems to go on forever. I start to wonder if I am lost, while the trees stare at me with their black eyes. I feel surprisingly okay with the situation, and am able to find my way back after a short while. 8 hours. I am having trouble with simple tasks. I panic when faced with taking out the bins. I eat pasta, but I am not hungry. The taste is not noticeably enhanced, only the texture. This was the first food I had eaten all day, but eating didn't feel right. 9 hours. Visuals and body load becoming milder, but still very present. Not noticing any auditory hallucinations anymore. I feel uncomfortable doing anything, and uncomfortable if I don't do anything. The only undertaking that feels normal is smoking. I know that sober people smoke, so it feels right. My mind feels exhausted, and I still haven't come any closer to finding a way I can describe what the headspace feels like. It is so unlike anything I have ever experienced, even on other psychedelics, although I have never had a dose this high before. Unlike with other substances, I can think very clearly on 1P-LSD. My mind is constantly racing with thoughts and ideas, but none of them translate into the sober world. After 12 hours, I try to go to bed, but cannot fall asleep. Closed-eye visuals are much more mild than before, but I still see fractals and I feel very awake. Mind is still racing, trying to compute the day's events. Still have some body load as well. 14 hours, I remain unable to fall asleep. I am having constant thought loops and am feeling moderate levels of anxiety. In addition to this, I am in a cycle of convincing myself that the effects have lessened, and then panicking when I realize that they are just as strong as they were 4 hours ago. 16 hours, still cannot fall asleep. Have had 4 hours of thought loops now, and still feel very disconnected from my sober state of mind. I can't remember what being sober feels like, but I know that it's very different to what I am experiencing. I am panicking somewhat at the thought of waking up and still tripping. After 17 hours, I finally fall asleep. The last 5 hours were very uncomfortable. 20 hours in, I wake up very tired, but absolutely sober. I am somewhat worried at first that fractals might start appearing or that the floor might start warping. But no such events take place. The complete opposite of the previous day is now true. I can no longer remember to any extent what the psychedelic headspace felt like. Many of the notes I wrote to myself while tripping make no sense to me anymore. When I am in one state of mind, it is completely impossible to have any grasp of what the other state of mind is like. Overall, I think it would be safe to say that this day was perhaps the most profound experience of my life so far. A few days later, it already feels more like a dream, more so than something I had actually lived through. I can safely say that the last 5 hours of the experience were the most uncomfortable I have felt for an extended period of time in my whole life. Despite this, when I reflect on the experience, it's the first few hours that really stand out. The deep discomfort that came afterwards seems like it was fully worth an insight into these altered states of consciousness. The peak of the trip provided me with experiences that are completely priceless, having come to terms with the possibility that everything I know is a facade, that everything I accept as reality is just one perception of many. I perceive things as perhaps I would if I were newly reintroduced to the concept, as if I have just been thrown into existence for the first time, and am trying to figure out what I need to be doing to fit in. Things that always made sense no longer seem reasonable. I get to rediscover what I already knew from a completely different perspective. If my brain is capable of existing in a completely parallel state, it seems like an insane suggestion not to explore such things. Alright, everybody. That is the end of our story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Share with us your 1P-LSD experiences down in the comments below. Check out the other videos and playlists on my channel. And I will see you in the next one, fam. Deuces.